emerging market that the world has ever seen, and our generation's one opportunity to generate massive amounts of wealth. Our opportunity right now to invest in crypto is similar to us putting a couple $1,000s into the S&P 500 and now having over $1.1 million. And even though investing in this market is fairly simple once you know the basics, sadly 99% of people won't pay any attention and will still be left behind. But for the 1% that does, including you guys who stumbled across this video, you have an opportunity right now to be in that 1%, and even starting with a small amount of money, be able to become a millionaire in the years to come. Okay, I've been in the crypto space for over 5 years, full-time trading over the past 7. So this video is going to serve as a simple lesson of me taking all of the things that I've learned over my experience and giving you the simple, clean-cut version. So I'm going to show you things like cryptocurrency basics, the short-term and long-term investment potential that I see, how you can do simple, fundamental, and technical analysis so that you actually understand what you're in, different ways to actually make money in crypto, as well as how to buy, sell, and organize all of your crypto activity, as well as all the tips and tricks that I've learned over the years. So if you make it to the end of the video, you'll have a simple investing foundation to be able to invest like the 1%. If you end up liking this video, make sure you share it with a friend who you also want to be in the Future Millionaires Club with. So let's start off with the cryptocurrency basics so that you understand the main point of the entire market. Okay, the best way to think about crypto is it's a secure, transparent way of storing and sharing information that is viewed by everyone but isn't necessarily controlled by one person. This form of technology allows information to be transferable between parties, where during that transfer process, there's a form of encryption so that it's a secure way of sharing information, but can be done completely on an open ledger where everyone can see transparently what's going on. There's really no central entity that we're relying on to be transparent because both parties are in agreement and the information is there for everyone to see. So even though there's a ton of cryptocurrencies out there, there's a few main applications of crypto. The first biggest one, and this is applicable to Bitcoin, which is the most popular cryptocurrency, is something that stores value. So it protects against currency debasement and is a fast way of transferring wealth without borders, without having to deal with centralized government entities. Okay, a lot of people just think this is for, bad activity, but this is actually one of the most transparent ways of transacting. The second big use case for cryptocurrency is something called DeFi, which stands for decentralized finance. A simple way to look at this is considering it as programmable money. So imagine a network where you can set up automations where all the transactions are happening by themselves and you can continue to build a network without needing all these different departments of people doing individual things. It's a web of programmable money where something called smart contracts are executing all of these functions. We're going to dive a lot more into understanding a little bit about how that works so you can really wrap your mind around it. But coins like Ethereum, Solana, BNB, these are all things that, yes, can store some value, but are mostly geared towards decentralized finance. And this is probably going to be one of the biggest emerging markets that the world ever seen. Like I said, we're going to dive into that. And the third biggest category is something called stablecoins. Now, these aren't really used as investment vehicles. Rather, this is a cryptocurrency version meant to represent the value of a fiat currency. When I say fiat currency, I mean something like the US dollar or the yuan. Currencies that are issued by a central government. Some of the biggest ones are the USDT stablecoin, which is always going to be worth $1 and essentially allows you to use regular money, but on the blockchain. Before we dive into key terms and learning a little bit more about cryptocurrency, I want to move into section 2 and talk about the huge investment potential in the short and long term for this emerging market. So chances are you've probably heard a decent amount about Bitcoin. And the whole reason Bitcoin has caught a lot of traction over the past several years is because it is considered a store of value, fighting against one of the biggest issues that countries in general have and that the US is definitely starting to see, which is something called currency debasement. Currency debasement is basically when centralized governments continue to print money, increasing the total amount of money that is out there, which over time is going to erode the buying power of the currency. And you can see with the US dollar, since the 1900s, $100 now only has the buying power as of 2020 of $3. And this was during COVID, where we printed 22% of the total US dollar supply in just a few years, which is now even further drastically driving the buying power of the US dollar down. We're losing about 3 to 4% of our buying power per year. And this is one of the biggest things that the US is trying to solve. Okay, and there's something called global reserve currency. Right now, the US dollar is the reserve currency of the world. It's what we trade barrels of oil with. You can consider it sort of the gold standard currency of the entire world. And you can see the reserve currency status has changed hands quite a bit. In 1450, it was Portugal with the status, then it turned into Spain. Spain for about 110 years, Netherlands for 80, France for 95, Great Britain for about 105, and the US is now starting to creep up into that average duration of time. And now some of the other large players in the world, including Saudi Arabia and China, are looking to potentially switch currencies for the trade of oil, which, if that does happen and the US is to lose the reserve currency status, in about 6 months the US would lose about 30% of its value. The cost of importing goods would become drastically more expensive. All of the debt that we've been accumulating, the government would not be able to borrow at the current rates, which would then result in a larger deficit that would need to be filled by either increasing taxes or printing more money, which then we would experience something called hyperinflation, which is what a lot of countries with older currencies see. This is why you can go to different countries with US dollars and you're able to have tremendously more buying power. And I'm not here to play the whole Armageddon thesis. What I am here to say is that even if this isn't to happen, over the past 120 years, we've still seen our currency lose about 97% worth of its value. And if that doesn't ring alarm bells, saying that the globe needs to store value that can't be inflated and manipulated by a centralized entity, then I don't know what does. And for years, gold has been the solution around this, and gold has been a tremendous store of value. But if we really look at the breakdown of gold, is it verifiable? Do we know how much gold is actually in the reserves, still kind of held by a central entity, whether it's a bank, whether it's a government? Is it fungible, meaning is it unique? Is it easily replaceable? The answer is no. Is it portable? Absolutely not. You can't lug around gold bars in your pockets. Is it durable? Yes, it's very durable. Divisible? Not so easy to divide up fractional amounts of gold. It needs to go through a process and it's not easy to do. It's moderately scarce, so we're continuing to mine gold over time. We also have no idea how much gold is out in the solar system as well, which could drastically impact the actual value that we do see in it. Does